It was 2:45 a.m. when the car pulled into the gas station. The road had been empty for over an hour. No cars. No people. Just the sound of the wind and the soft buzz of the lights above the pumps. Jake worked the night shift. He was 24 years old, and he had been working at the small gas station for almost a year. Most nights were quiet and boring. He would drink coffee, listen to the radio, and wait for the sun to come up. But this night felt different. The car rolled in slowly and stopped at pump number 3. Its headlights stayed on. The engine was still running. Jake waited. 1 minute passed. Then 2. No one got out. Jake leaned forward and looked through the window. He couldn't see anyone in the driver's seat. The glass was a little foggy, but it looked empty. That's strange, he said to himself. Maybe the driver was tired. Maybe they had fallen asleep. Jake grabbed his jacket and stepped outside. The air was cold and still. The headlights were bright, almost too bright. He walked up to the car and looked inside. His heart skipped. The car was completely empty. No driver. No passengers. The keys were still in the ignition. The engine was still running. Jake stepped back quickly. He looked around the parking lot. No one was there. The road was empty in both directions. He felt a chill run down his back. He hurried inside and locked the door. His hands were shaking a little as he reached for the phone to call the local police. Before he could dial, he heard something. Slam. Jake froze. The sound came from inside the building. It was the restroom door at the end of the hallway. He stared down the hall. The light above the restroom flickered once. That's not funny, Jake whispered, even though he was alone. Slam. This time it was louder. Then he heard another sound. The storage room door slammed shut. Jake's heart began to pound. He knew he had locked those doors earlier. He always checked them before midnight. Slowly, he walked around the counter. His shoes made soft sounds on the tile floor. Hello, he called out. No answer. The radio behind the counter started making a strange noise. The music faded away and turned into soft static. Then, slam. The cooler door at the back of the store banged shut. Jake jumped. All the doors inside the gas station were moving, one after another. Open. Close. Open. Close. But there was no wind. The front door was locked. No one had come in. Jake backed up until he felt the counter behind him. He didn't know what to do. His breathing was fast now. And then everything stopped. The doors were quiet. The radio was silent. The store felt still again. Jake stood there for a full minute, too afraid to move. Finally, he looked down. That's when he saw them. Wet footprints. They were on the floor near the restroom. Bare footprints. Small and clear. They led down the hallway. Step by step. All the way to where Jake was standing. The floor had been dry before. He was sure of it. The footprints stopped right in front of him. Jake slowly lifted his head. The front lights outside flickered. At that same moment, the car engine outside shut off by itself. Silence filled the air. Jake did not finish his shift that night. When the morning worker arrived, the car was gone. No one ever reported it missing. And Jake never worked another night shift again. Even now, years later, he says he still remembers the sound of those doors slamming. And sometimes, late at night, he still wakes up at exactly 2:45 a.m. listening. Jake thought it was over. He quit the gas station job the next morning. He told his manager he was not feeling well and never came back. He found a new job working during the day at a small hardware store. For weeks, everything felt normal again. Until the dreams started. Every night, Jake would wake up at exactly 2:45 a.m. Not 2:44. Not 2:46. Always 2:45. At first, he thought it was just stress. But the dreams were always the same. He would be standing inside the gas station. The lights would flicker. The car would be outside with its headlights on. And the doors would start slamming again. Open. Close. Open. Close. Then he would see the wet footprints. This time, they didn't stop in front of him. They walked past him. Like something had moved deeper into the store. Jake tried to ignore it. He stopped watching scary movies. He stopped drinking coffee at night. But nothing helped. One evening, about a month later, he got a phone call. It was his old manager. "Jake," the man said, his voice shaking, "something strange happened last night." Jake felt his stomach tighten. "What happened?" he asked quietly. "A car pulled up at 2:45 a.m., the manager said. "Same as you described. Engine running. No one inside." Jake stopped breathing for a second. "And then," he whispered. The doors inside started slamming. Silence filled the phone. Jake's hands were cold. "Did you see anything?" he asked. "No," the manager said. "But we found something." "What?" "Wet footprints." Jake closed his eyes. "They were smaller this time," the manager continued. "Like a child's." Jake didn't know what to say. The manager cleared his throat. "I checked the security cameras." Jake's heart began to race. "And?" he asked. "The cameras shut off at exactly 2:45 a.m. Every single one. They came back on at 2:50. 5 minutes. 5 missing minutes." Jake felt dizzy. That night, he could not sleep at all. He kept the lights on in his apartment. He told himself it was just a strange coincidence. At 2:45 a.m., his digital clock changed numbers. 2:44. 2:45. The lights in his bedroom flickered once. Just once. Jake slowly sat up in bed. His apartment was silent. Then he heard it. A soft sound. Not loud. Not like before. Just a gentle tap. From inside his apartment. Tap. 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 It sounded like someone knocking on a wooden door. But Jake lived alone. The tapping moved slowly down the hallway. Tap. 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 Jake's heart pounded in his chest. He could barely breathe. Then he noticed something that made his blood turn cold. There were faint, wet footprints on the floor outside his bedroom. Small, bare, and leading toward his door. The tapping stopped. The hallway went quiet. Jake stared at his bedroom door. Waiting. Listening. And then, the door handle slowly began to turn. The door handle kept turning. Slowly. Very slowly. Jake could not move. He sat on his bed, staring at the door. His heart was beating so loud he could hear it in his ears. The handle stopped. Everything went quiet again. Jake swallowed hard. Maybe it was just his imagination. Maybe he was dreaming. Then, click. The door unlocked. It opened just a little. Only a few inches. The hallway outside was dark. Jake could see the wet footprints on the floor. They were right outside his room. He reached for his lamp and turned it on quickly. The bright light filled the room. The door stopped moving. Jake jumped out of bed and rushed to shut it. His hands were shaking as he locked it again. He stood there for a moment, breathing fast. Then he did something brave. He opened the door. The hallway was empty. No one was there. The apartment door was still locked. The windows were closed. But the wet footprints were still on the floor. They started near the front door. And they ended right in front of his bedroom. Jake grabbed his phone and turned on the camera. He wanted proof. He slowly walked down the hallway, recording everything. The lights flickered once. His phone screen went black. The battery had been full just seconds ago. Now it was dead. Jake felt cold air move past him, like someone had just walked by. He ran back into his bedroom and slammed the door shut. He did not sleep that night. The next morning, the footprints were gone. The floor was completely dry. Jake decided he needed answers. That afternoon, he drove back to the old gas station. He had not been there since he quit. The place looked the same. But when he walked inside, the manager looked scared. "You came at the right time," the manager said quietly. Jake looked at the clock on the wall. 2:40 p.m. "What do you mean?" Jake asked. The manager pointed to a newspaper on the counter. It was old and yellow. "Found this in storage," he said. Jake picked it up. The headline read, "Family vanishes after stopping at local gas station, 1982." Jake felt his hands go cold. The story said a small family had stopped for gas late at night. A father, a mother, and a young child. At 2:45 a.m. their car was found running at the pump. Empty. No one inside. They were never found. Jake looked up slowly. How old was the child? He asked. The manager swallowed. About 7. Jake thought about the small footprints. That night, Jake did not go home. He stayed at a friend's house instead. But at exactly 2:45 a.m., he woke up again. This time, there were no footsteps. No slamming doors. No tapping. Just silence. For weeks after that, nothing happened. Until one night, while driving home late from work, Jake stopped at a red light. He glanced to his right. At the empty gas station on the corner. A car was parked at the pump. Headlights on. Engine running. No one inside. And on the wet pavement below the driver's door. Small footprints. Leading away. Jake couldn't stop thinking about what he saw at the red light. Another gas station. Another car. Headlights on. No one inside. And small footprints leading away. This was not just about him anymore. The next day, Jake started searching old news records at the local library. He wanted to know if this had happened before. It had. He found stories from different years. Each story was almost the same. A car found running at a gas station around 2:45 a.m. No driver. No passengers. Security cameras failing for exactly 5 minutes. And sometimes, reports of doors slamming inside the store. Jake noticed something else. Every time it happened, the gas station was near a highway. And always in small towns. That night, Jake made a decision. If this thing followed a pattern, then maybe he could predict where it would happen next. He mapped out the locations from the past cases. They formed a line. Almost like something was traveling. Slowly. Town by town. Gas station by gas station. Jake looked at the last location. It was only 30 minutes from his apartment. And tonight, it would reach that town. Jake felt fear in his chest. But he also felt something stronger. He needed to see it for himself. At 2:30 a.m., he parked across the street from the small gas station in that town. The place looked normal. Bright lights. Empty parking lot. A tired worker inside behind the counter. 2:40 a.m. Nothing. 2:44 a.m. Still nothing. Then, headlights appeared in the distance. A single car drove slowly into the station. Jake's hands tightened on the steering wheel. The car stopped at pump number 2. The engine stayed running. No one got out. 2:45 a.m. Inside the store, Jake saw the worker look toward the hallway. Then, even from across the street, Jake heard it. Slam. The restroom door. Then another slam. Then another. Inside the store, lights flickered. Jake opened his car door and stepped out. He didn't know why. But he felt like he was supposed to be there. The car at the pump was still running. Empty. Jake walked closer. The air felt heavy. Very quiet. He reached the car. The driver's door slowly creaked open on its own. Jake stepped back. Inside the car, the radio suddenly turned on. Soft static filled the air. Then a faint sound. Not loud. Not angry. Just a whisper. Help. Jake's heart nearly stopped. The whisper came from the car radio. Help. And then he understood. Maybe this wasn't something evil. Maybe it was something trapped. Something repeating the same moment. Over and over. 2:45 a.m. The slamming doors inside the station suddenly stopped. The headlights flickered. The whisper came again, softer now. Help. Jake slowly reached into the car and turned off the engine. The moment he did, everything went silent. The headlights shut off. The store lights across the street stopped flickering. The air felt normal again. Jake looked down at the pavement. There were small wet footprints. But this time, they were walking back toward the car, not away from it. Jake blinked. And they were gone. The car was gone too. The gas station worker came running outside. What just happened? The worker asked. Jake looked at the empty space where the car had been. "I think," he said quietly, "it's over." That night, Jake slept past 2:45 a.m. for the first time in months. No doors slammed. No footsteps. No tapping. Just silence. But sometimes, when the night is very still, and the clock turns to 2:45 a.m., some people say they still hear a car engine start in the distance.